Good evening and welcome to the Give Me the Remote podcast. This is episode 45. So we're just going from strength to strength to strength. It is the 16th of July. My name is John. I'm being joined in the pod by Sheridan.
Hello.
Roger the cat has just opened the door, so all the hot air is going to escape, and we can't run the heater because the sound would make this podcast awful. So we're just about to suffer for our art and a small pink cat.
We suffer greatly, I
For
have
the
to
small
say,
pink
in
cat.
the Canberra winter in this podcast.
Yeah. Sorry, you are...
Sheridan, you've already said that.
Have I?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Nice one.
But say it again.
Yeah, sure. Madam Secretary to your friends. We're not going to go into that. And what are we talking about tonight first?
Let's talk about us.
Can't believe how big they've got.
Did you hear Gabe got a boat?
He's kidding, right?
He's not kidding.
Hey, I think it's vodka o'clock.
Oh, yeah.
Where's Jason?
So Jordan Peele's new outing, who I think we gave 4.5 to 5 stars to
Get Out.
Get Out. Yeah, and it did well at awards season as well for such a tiny budget film.
It was a very good film.
It was an amazing film for the budget. It did have some flaws, and I think when we talk about Us, which is his sophomore movie, some of the flaws shone through a little more in his storytelling, I felt.
Yeah, so actually, I didn't check out whether he wrote this, but I'm pretty sure he did write it.
Yeah.
His writing is at times quite questionable. So basically, if you watch the preview, we're not going to go into a lot about what this movie is about.
We're not going to give away the twist, don't worry. Yeah.
There's probably several twists. Half of the fun is in the twists, so we won't do that. But basically, Adelaide Wilson is the mother of a fairly, I think, affluent family.
That's part of the fun. They're an affluent African-American family.
And she returns with her family to her childhood home. And they're on a summer holiday. And on the first night, they're just chilling out in their house. And they notice someone in the driveway. And then they look out, and it's basically doppelgangers of the whole family are standing out there.
Yeah, that's in the trailer.
That is in the trailer, yeah. And then basically what ensues is creepy weirdness with doppelgangers. And I think that's all we'll say.
Yeah, I mean, even before that, there was a lengthy scene at the beach at Santa Cruz, and their use of horror styles surrounding a family trip to the beach when you're black and everyone on the beach is white was masterful, was very clever.
Yeah, so there's definitely a whole
stylistically,
othering.
His movies are so clever. The writing and the plot can get a little dumb.
For example, so the film opens with a flashback sequence of a fairly traumatic experience that is very relevant to the plot that happens at the beachside town when Adelaide's a child. She then returns
So you know there's something bad coming.
So you know this, and
sets it up.
it's a great scene. It is a really well done and, you know, quite sort of puts you on edge from the very beginning, which is what you want from a horror movie. But one thing that's really bizarre is they go on this family holiday to this beach location where she apparently suffered this ridiculous level of childhood trauma. Why is she going back there? Like, it's not explained at all. It doesn't make any sense.
She's entirely resistant to being there. She keeps complaining to her husband, why are we here? And it's like,
yeah, why are you there?
surely out of all the world, when I'm planning a holiday, if my partner says, I don't want to go there, I had a bad experience there, you say, okay, let's go to Bali or Tuvalu or Mexico or, you know, Vancouver. I mean, the world is literally full of places you can go. Why go back to somewhere you don't want to go?
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense.
That's not explained. And then, I get it's horror, and horror breaks a lot of rules of disbelief, and that's fine because we just love it for the jump scare. Cool. I think great horror films maintain an internal consistent logic, though, and less great ones just have the baddies always winning because they're the baddies and everything's bad is happening, and they lose something from that. I personally feel that the very best scary films, there is still an internal logic to them. And I feel that this one lacks internal logic at the end of the day.
Yeah, which I think, I mean, the success of his filmmaking comes from that they do send quite overt, although not as overt in this one, political and social messaging. And that's the reward that one gets from it. But I felt though, yeah, that like what you said, the internal logic on this is sort of there for the benefit of the allegory, and it doesn't quite have that same level of payoff.
It completely falls apart in the last third.
Yeah. And because the political messaging isn't as obvious, I don't think the reward is as great. Whereas I think with Get Out, you know, there's some failings there, but...
Not a lot, though. I would say I wouldn't want to apply to Get Out my criticisms of the internal logic that this has. Yes, there is a fantastic element to the end of Get Out, but you can have a fantastic element that still has an internal logic.
Yeah, and I got the message. Like,
yeah.
I got what they were trying to say, what he was trying to say, and I felt rewarded because I got it and I understood it. But with this, I was a bit like, do I really get what he's trying to say?
No, it just turns dumb as a sack of hammers, unfortunately, because it's still got so many great scenes and great messages, and I still thoroughly enjoyed watching it. There was just a point where it pushed my suspension of disbelief far too far and entered not just the realm of fantasy, but a fantasy that didn't make sense combined with the rest of the world that it was trying to speak to. Which, I mean, it's his second movie. I'm definitely still going to watch his third movie. And I would definitely happily watch this again, because I think knowing what you know at the end of it, you can watch it easily rewatchable. With
yeah, and I think
context.
I would have got a lot of the... I mean, because I think what it's trying to say is that it's about, I guess, history and overriding history. That to me is the message of the film.
I think there's a few elements of messages, which is part of the good stuff about this film, is that it can load a few different things in at the same time.
Yeah, and that the, I guess, other is really just the same as the group that's in power, that you're all the same. It's just your position of birth or circumstance that makes you downtrodden, but inherently there's nothing fundamentally different amongst us as humans. It's quite a...
Well, there is kind of an element that the downtrodden are evil in this, which isn't so great. But I don't feel it's trying to handle that bit in a serious way. So
no,
I'm sure that isn't the message Jordan Peele's trying to.
No, I didn't take
trying to send, but it does actually exist within it if you want to deconstruct it enough. And I guess what's disappointing to me is that particularly in the last third, it just relies on a lot of hand waving to get to the end. And I feel he's capable of better if he isn't being rushed and asked to chuck out a movie because everyone wants another Get Out.
He does have though, there's scenes though that are...
Brilliant scenes. Brilliant
scenes.
I would say even Hitchcockian
yeah.
In the power of the setup and the twist. And I would say there's probably a dozen twists in this movie where they set the scene up and then something happens that you are not expecting.
Yeah, and he's can be very restrained as well.
Yeah.
So it's not actually always so obvious.
Just needed to put the script out for more development, I thought.
Just that, a little bit of the writing is a little bit clunky. But I absolutely love what he is doing, because he is doing things that you have never seen in the genre. It's genre-breaking filmmaking, and that's incredible.
Oh, yeah. I'm going to give this 4 stars, despite having reservations that I would normally dock 2 stars off. So that kind of makes it a 6-star movie with 2 stars worth of failures.
There's like 10-star moments. There's multiple 10-star moments.
10-star moments
in this film.
You don't give half stars, but you do 10 stars.
There's a multiple million-star moments.
Yeah. So there's so much that's so great about this, and I highly recommend it. I will say that there is an element, and I'm sure more people than us have told him about this, and I'm sure he's painfully aware of it. There are bits that could have been done better, and that is kind of cool because it means his best movie is still to come.
Yeah, and Lupita Nyong'o, I think that's how you say it, I don't know, who plays the main character, is just killer performance. Literally.
Yeah. And because of this mirroring thing that is in the trailers, I'm not spoiling it for you. The characters have to play multiple roles, and they're very different roles, and so the kids are fantastic.
The kids are.
The husband,
she's so
the husband
good.
is great. Oh, her face and where it's going at any given moment, and she can send multiple messages out of different sides of her face. I mean it.
And she is so good though that you actually genuinely question for a little bit whether it is even the same person.
Yeah.
Because she plays those two characters so differently.
Yeah.
And just everything about them is it's really
anyway, so if Jordan Peele's running a his own Netflix style streaming video service, sign me up, because that's where the future lies. But it's a shame that what could have been a movie for the ages is let down by a bit of hand waving in the writing. But I was looking at 4 stars, and it's a 4-star with a highly recommended on it as well. Like, watch it, enjoy it, be scared by it, and then poke holes in the writing holes.
Yeah, I'm giving it 4 stars too.
Nice one. So what's next?
Captain Marvel.
I think I had a life here. What aren't you telling me?
You've come a long way, but you're not as strong as you think.
Ah, boy.
First female-centered Marvel Universe movie, is that correct?
It is. So. They are going to... Scarlett Johansson's Black Widow is coming soon.
So Brie Larson as Captain Marvel.
Brie Larson as
We've
Captain
seen
Marvel.
her in a few of the other Marvel Universe
films. And also Unicorn Store, which we really liked.
I like Brie Larson as an actor and as an individual.
And as an individual, as in someone who just really annoys the incel community.
She really does.
And look, I mean, I hate that incels live amongst us for lots of reasons. Mostly, just they're so vile. But annoying them is not sufficient to make me like them, like something else. And I like Brie Larson, and I like a lot of things about this movie, but it was a great letdown and a bit of meh for mine.
It's really meh. I had to... I couldn't even remember what it's about.
Look, the story of it turns out my side aren't the good guys. It's kind of cool, but it's a little dated, and they don't bring anything new to the table.
No.
On this story. And I was told, it was like, oh, the scene where she does a fight scene and they play Just a Girl. It had no fireworks for me. I mean, it's like, yeah, cool song. I like the song. I'll play the song to enjoy the song, but the fight added nothing to the song, and the song added little to the fight. I thought it too was
just a little bit sort of twee or something.
Yeah.
Like, I just found it a little like...
Yeah, oh, look at me, I'm a raging feminist.
What? I mean,
without actually being feminist, I would say.
Yeah, like really, are we really holding Gwen Stefani out there as the picture of feminism because she's a problematic individual?
The song "Just a Girl's" problematic from a feminist perspective, if you analyse the lyrics.
Like, but I mean, the whole thing's set in the 90s, so there's a lot of nostalgia
aimed at us.
Yeah, but I felt like I was being marketed at. Didn't it feel genuine?
I wasn't enjoying it.
No.
Yeah. Other than that, don't play, No Doubt. Play me some Mudhoney or some Sonic Youth.
Well, I also was a little bit frustrated that the whole soundtrack for the movie predominantly is, well, actually overwhelmingly, is women or female lead bands from the 90s. So you got like Salt and Pepper, TLC, Elastica, Garbage, all these great, bands.
Elastica is a band I think deserved more oomph than they got, and that was nice to see that. Anyway, that's an Alaska thing, but not.
Final climactical song is Nirvana, and I was like, really? So hang on, we get to play the support acts, but still not the main act in a movie that's meant to be aimed.
And I didn't think Nirvana added anything at that moment to it, and I say that as someone who wore a lot of Nirvana t-shirts back in the 90s. I just didn't feel it was adding anything at that moment to this film. Yeah. Also, I just felt it was dull. It was dragging. Anytime you're just taken to random science fiction city of the future, it's got to do Fifth Element level of crazies to make it interesting to me.
I found the action sequences too, like the CGI and whatnot, was just a little bit rubbish.
Well, it's all Deus Ex Machina as well. It's like, woohoo, I am super powerful, boom. So there's no sense of jeopardy. You're not worried if the hero's going to survive.
Well, it just didn't look very realistic all the time.
Well, it's a science fiction setting in outer space.
Yeah, but do you know what I mean? Like, it looked a bit, I don't know, just not very good.
Yeah. And I've defended this movie against other people like, oh, it sucks, it's swimming.
That's not why it sucks.
No, that's not why it sucks. I wouldn't even say it sucks. It's totally adequate. It's fair. It's a very middle of the road 3-star kind of effort. It doesn't do any more or less. If you've never seen a movie where there's a huge twist and it turns out the goodies are the baddies and the baddies aren't as bad as we thought and maybe they're goodies, then hooray. If this is the first time you see it, you're going to think this is amazing, and that's great. And sure, there are probably a lot of 20-somethings out there who haven't seen that story too often, but for me, I've seen it enough times that this had to do it better or differently, and it didn't do that.
And, I mean, it is kind of funny, but yeah, like, it's just a bit meh.
And even the stuff with the shape-shifting, I don't feel they did enough with it. Which is, I realise that's a tough line to walk because you do too much with it and the audience is just completely confused. But I really wanted to like this movie. I was really looking forward to it. Like, you had to talk me out of buying it, and boy, I'm glad you did that because it deserved no more than a rental. But boy, and I've got to say, like, I was a little unnerved by Brie Larson's Captain Marvel in Avengers Endgame. Like, it's like, yeah, okay, you're cool and you're cocky and you've got a funny eyebrow raise, but what's backing it up? And
I mean, she basically, though, the character is just like Captain America, but in a female form.
ooh, Captain America's a far more troubled, deeper character than we've been portrayed by Captain Marvel so far. She's just a fighter pilot. And it's kind of cool. Yes, a woman can be just as shallow and vapid as a male fighter pilot.
Yeah,
Hello, gender equality.
She's basically a straight white dude, but
happens to be a woman. Yeah. Straight white fighter pilot.
Yeah.
And fighter pilots are selected for a very narrow set of physical skills and not for their deep intellectual depth. There was a case in Australia where a judge ruled against pilots, saying that they were basically trained chimpanzees. Which is to say, all pilots are trained chimpanzees. Some of them are very smart, but the bit that makes them a pilot, that's trained chimpanzee.
So what are you rating this one?
3 stars.
Yeah, I'm going to go 3.
And I would also say one of the most disappointing, probably up there with Iron Man 2 for the worst Marvel movies ever made. Or most disappointing Marvel movies
I find
ever made.
all of them lately are 3 stars.
What did you give Thor Ragnarok?
Except for that one.
And what did you give Infinity War?
I think I might have given it 4. I can't remember.
So, yeah, just saying some Marvel movies are actually pretty good. This is not one of them.
I think it's the ones that is character-centric
Mm-hmm.
that are although that defies the Thor Ragnarok, but, you know,
Chris Hemsworth.
Chris Hemsworth, sorry.
Valkyrie, Hulk's good. I mean, there's a lot of great stuff in Thor. I mean, but it's the direction of Taika Waititi that makes Thor Ragnarok.
Yeah, that is true.
Yeah. So what? How many stars from you?
3.
3. So 3 across the board. Alrighty then. So what's next?
American Made.
Top of your class in the Civil Air Patrol. A pilot like you shouldn't be flying buses.
Welcome to Miami. Welcome to Bakersfield.
Haven't you ever wanted something more, Barry?
You should be serving your country.
You're CIA.
Starring Tom Cruise.
Tom Cruise.
I gotta say, this might be the best thing Tom Cruise has done in 20 years.
Look, I think that the problem with Tom Cruise is he is so personally dislikable that you forget that he's actually a really, really good actor. And
just a really good old boy, all-American boy, which is what he's trying to play here. And I mean, this is set in the 80s, I believe, so it's still the era of floppy hair when he was young, so he fills it so well. there's a good chance he's never going to listen to it. So I have an American uncle by marriage, and now divorced, but I still feel I have some familial bond to him in that my cousin is still his dad, who had the floppy hair and the big belt and the shirts and the charisma. And it just felt like watching that uncle on screen for a lot of this. And they're like, God damn, I love America. Which is funny because Barry Sear, who this is based on,
is the 300-pound
was
very unattractive man.
But I think if they'd made the movie with him looking like that, less people would watch it. And I think the messages in this movie are so important and so brave. This is actually, if you want to grasp...
What messages are brave?
That the US government is capable of such incredible vileness, that the whole war on communism, war on drugs became such a tangled mess of funding. And where the money went and who did what, and the fact that it all drove the drug trade back into the US for the swelling tide of human misery that was involved in that.
We've been hearing these stories, though, in films out of America for a long time now, and it's not actually doing very much to stop the continued proliferation of drugs that the American government facilitates currently through the opium...
Purdue Pharmaceutical.
Yeah.
No, but the messages have to... stories like this, there's some hope if stories like this keep getting made and keep getting told.
Oh, look, I think I got a different vibe from it.
How about we tell people what it's about? Because we haven't. We jumped sort of straight over that.
It's about a guy named Barry Seal who...
Sear.
No, it's Seal.
Okay, sure. Go on.
I literally Googled him before I was...
Go on.
Who was a TWA pilot, and he gets recruited by the CIA to do reconnaissance missions in South America. And he's doing that and it's working out well, but then he's like, I'm actually not getting paid enough money to do this. And the American government goes, well, there's other ways to make money, hint, hint, nudge, nudge. And he starts shipping drugs for the Medellin cartel. And then it's kind of just a rollicking kind of drug sort of cartel adventure.
It does get into the Iran-Contra affair. And I can remember really well as the Iran-Contra affair broke, I must have been about 12 years old. And my family were going back to America. We had lived in the US for 3 years when I was a kid. And we'd gone back for a visit. And we were having lunch with a friend of my dad's from when he was working at the Australian Embassy. And this guy was a journalist. And he was talking about Iran-Contra, and in my young 12-year-old mind, it really stuck in. He was like, how can President Reagan survive? Surely he has to resign. That was how serious the corruption of the Iran-Contra affair was. And they show it really well here. And, of course, they all just said, who cares? And the whole system shrugged. And it was like, oh, well, the fact that you're shipping weapons to Iran, a country you say you hate, in exchange for money going to... a bunch of people who say they're anti-communist, but mostly just like murdering people in Nicaragua. And the flip side of this whole exchange is a whole bunch of drugs flows into the United States. Should have brought down that government.
You're interested in very odd things for a 12-year-old.
It made me the man I am today, absolutely.
So the story isn't that historically accurate. Doug Liman, who directed it, said...
The bones of it are there, though.
Doug Liman, who directed it, said it's a fun lie based on a true story.
Yeah, and it does upset me because the true story is so amazing and amazingly awful that...
Barry Seal's always denied working for the CIA. He basically just...
But he would say that, wouldn't he?
There's no evidence of it.
Except he got shot in that car park.
When at the end?
Yeah. That's his life. He was murdered in a car park.
Yeah, but I mean, he was an arms and drug dealer.
Something interesting was going on.
He was an arms and drug dealer. That was known. Anyway, so it's made by Doug Liman, who made Swingers, Go, Born Identity, Edge of Tomorrow, and I think that list of films gives you a good idea of what you're in for.
So, Edge of Tomorrow, he worked with Tom Cruise and must have enjoyed working with Tom Cruise. Is that what we can take from that?
They're very slick movies.
Go, I wouldn't say Go was slick. I'd say Go. I mean, Go was absolutely groundbreaking for its moment.
Go was a slick portrayal of rape culture.
But in terms of a way of telling a story in film, it was extremely groundbreaking in its moment.
It wasn't actually that representative of the culture of that time.
I wasn't claiming it was. I was talking about its filmmaking attributes, not its portrayal.
Well, he's a good filmmaker. He's a very competent...
Well, I wouldn't say Edge of Tomorrow was a good film by any means.
I mean, Born Identity is a really good film.
Yes, and I mean, spawned a whole genre, basically, of its own, yeah.
So anyway, I think that kind of gives you an idea of what you're in for. You are in for very competent, watchable filmmaking. This is put your phone down, get ready, and strap yourself in for a ride kind of film.
Yeah, it only made 44 million, and I think...
No, it didn't.
I thought it made more...
It made 134 million, and it cost 50
Was that
million.
the worldwide?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, I was talking US box office, but...
Yeah, but the US box office isn't how they make their money anymore.
Yeah, there's a lot of costs in the world market. But anyway,
I mean,
okay.
But you do, like, to make big money on a film, you've got to be able to market it worldwide.
Yeah, I still think 135 million is pretty small beer for any Tom Cruise film 10 years ago. So Tom Cruise has come down in the world.
Tom Cruise is also in his 50s.
Yeah. As we've discussed, we still think he'd beat Justin Bieber in a fight, though.
Yeah, I would say. Well, he does most of his own stunts.
Yeah, which, I think is highlighted by the fact Justin Bieber rapidly walked away from his desire to fight Tom Cruise. But
you know what, though? Tom Cruise, he's never had any Me Too's or... He's just a weird Scientologist.
Yeah, I mean, his ex-wives don't speak well of him.
But there's been no claims of abuse.
No, I mean, they married him voluntarily before they, decided that wasn't fun.
Well, none of them talk because they're too scared of being shut down. Maybe this podcast is in trouble.
Yeah, I've taken on Scientologists before.
Not Tom Cruise level Scientologists.
Yeah, well, we do have James Packer in this country. Look, the story this tells... And it's a shame they airbrushed and left out and did enough that the rat bags... And in fact, that might have been quite careful to give the rat bags enough of an out. They can say, oh, there's an inaccuracy there. Because the bones of the story are dead on, and it's something we should all think more about, how the world works. The fact that every time a representative of the government tells us something about the people they want us to kill... or who the enemies of our state are, the deals they'll happily do to make a buck behind the scenes. This is a story that more people need to understand and be across. And I think if it takes Tom Cruise pretending to be a pretty reprehensible dude, but with some charisma, well, the way Tom Cruise plays it with some charisma, and I mean, just things like the sight of all these, the snowbirds, a whole flight of planes dumping cocaine into the Louisiana swamps.
It's really
the fact that scene might never have actually happened in quite that way doesn't take away from the concept of it, and scenes like where Tom Cruise's character is being arraigned on charges that would see him in prison for 2,000 years, and he sits there joking to the cops, saying, "I'll be out here in 20 minutes," and they're saying, "You're never going to see freedom again," and then 15 minutes later, someone walks in saying, "Let him go." Just let him go. Don't ask questions. Your government demands it. So there's just a lot to like about this film, and I guess my only criticism is why not tell the real story? Why sugarcoat it when the real story is already so amazing?
Yeah, I mean, I really liked it. I didn't think it was particularly groundbreaking in its subject matter at all. I mean, it's just a movie about a drug smuggler.
It's a bit
told really well.
It's a bit like a Clint Eastwood directed movie of the last 15 years in that he is not going to smash any paradigms.
Yeah.
But
there's nothing new here, but it's competent,
there's no bad stories being told either. Right?
Sometimes you just want that. You just want to guarantee that you're going to pop something on the telly and it's going to be good.
Yeah.
So what are you going to give it?
And it's a tough one. Because there are so many great scenes, and probably more great scenes when I think about it, than most movies deserve to have. There's off the top of my head, they're proliferating through my mind as I talk, like 20 scenes that were just like, that was awesome, that was awesome, that was awesome. At the same time, I'm angry that they gave enough of an out to the bad guys by falsifying and fancifying things they didn't have to. I'm going to go 4 stars.
Yeah, I'm going to go 4 stars. It's a solid effort, yeah.
Yeah, and also not that many people have watched it, as we discussed. The box office is moderate at best.
I actually think it's because people, like Tom Cruise, has lost so much cachet because of his personal viewpoint and just persona that he's actually not that. I mean, this is he's bankable still, but he's old now, so he's never going to be at the heights he was. But yeah, he's got tarnish on him that just can't be rubbed off, I think.
But I'll give him this. He made this movie, which is
that's what you just like. He is good. He's really good.
But also, this movie, whatever you think about his Scientology, this movie is telling an important message about the way power operates in this world, and the cynicism you need to be applying when you get messages from your government. And for that, it really needs to be applauded for all that it introduced failings it didn't have to. Okay. Anything you want to tell the world, Sheridan?
That's it.
You're done?
Yeah.
How do people contact this podcast if they've got anything they want it read out to the audience?
GMTR at...
No! GMTR podcast at gmail.com.
I've only heard it, 46 times now?
This is the 45th.
45th.
Not allowing for the times we had to redo because we stuffed something up. So, I don't know, maybe 50 times. Yeah. So, yeah, GMTR podcast at gmail.com, folks. We do enjoy getting your messages, and we really do appreciate them. And for those who've made it to the end of the podcast, we would like to thank you for doing so. And, do please... like and share us on all applicable social media, because it really does help us out, and it costs you nothing. So what's wrong with you monsters? And on that note, we say goodbye, and hopefully it won't be too long till you hear from us again. Good night.
Thanks, folks.